Welcome to our latest episode of Voices in Leadership. My name is Melissa Andrews. I'm President and CEO of Leading Age Virginia, and it's just my absolute pleasure to host this podcast. I'd like to welcome our two guests for this episode, Kimberly Brathwaite and Judy Raymond. I'm going to ask each of them if they would be willing to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about them. So Kimberly, why don't we start with you?
Okay, thank you, Melissa. My name is Kimberly Brathwaite. I am the administrator for Culpepper Garden Assisted Living. It's an affordable housing assisted living located in Arlington, Virginia. And I am happy to be here and happy to be able to share this experience with you guys.
Thank you. How about you, Judy?
Hi, I'm Judy Raymond, and I am the executive director at Lake Prince Woods in Suffolk. We're a continuing care retirement community.
Also former chair of Leading Age Virginia. Thank you very much. So you are both in different parts of the state. You're both at different organizations, but you know each other. So just tell me, how did you meet and how are you acquainted?
Oh, a long time ago, a young Kimberly. We had created a new position, associate executive director, and Kim applied. She came in, and I think, we really hit it off. It was a long interview. I checked my notes yesterday. I think I wrote more notes on that interview than any other time, but I had lots of nice things written. She was very, straightforward, and she had an energy about her, and she was an enthusiasm. And I don't know if I can really describe it, that just reached out to me and said, hire her.
It's different for sure. I remember, when I first interviewed with Judy, her presence was just so laid back, and she made that process very, very comfortable for me. And it was a different experience. And I remember leaving the interview and I was thinking, oh goodness, I hope I, am able to, get this opportunity. And she did call me. And I remember I was so excited when she called. I don't know if she knew or not, but I remember she said when she called me, this is a new position and we really don't know what it's going to look like, but, I want to offer you, this role. And she said that we're just going to have to muddle through this together. And it stood out for me because I'm like, okay, well, it's like you're recognizing that we're going to work together. This is going to be a team effort. And, I felt like I had support before I even, walked in the door. And that was something that I really appreciated, her saying, and before we even, got started on this journey. And that was in 2016, I believe.
So let's take a step back for a minute. And Judy, would you share how you got into aging services?
Well, that was a long time ago. I graduated from college and worked for the March of Dimes, but then moved back home. And my mom just said one day when I was looking at opportunities, there was an activity director at a nursing home, and she said, you've always been really nice to your grandparents. I think you should apply. So I did. And then that was it. I started working in activities for a number of years. I moved to California and started working for a company with that was writing the regulations for dementia care and assisted living with the state. And then after about a couple of years there, I've been here in Virginia for almost 30, I guess, close to 30 now, and just kept learning, doing different things.
Same question to you, Kimberly.
So I started my career when I was in high school. I went to a VOTEC program where they trained, students that were in school to, have a trade. And so I entered into the CNA program with New Horizons in Hampton. And from then on, I kind of grew and developed in the industry, and I was able to work through college. And once I graduated college, I was working at the hospital at that time, and I was offered an opportunity, to work with another organization. And I stayed there at that organization for about 9.5 years before I joined Judy at Lake Prince. what interests me in the beginning was, or to make me go to the VOTEC program, was the fact that, when I was younger, my grandmother lived with us. And every morning I used to kind of work with her, and I used to, get her water and make sure she was okay before I left for school, because there was a gap between, when everyone left the house and when the nurse came in. And she always used to say, when I left the house, that's my little nurse. Oh, my little nurse is here to come help me in the morning. And just those words kind of inspired me, and it inspired me to keep going. And so when she later passed away, I always felt like the residents that we serve, I think about, how that small task meant to, what that small task meant to my grandmother. And I tried to use that same, instance for every resident that I reach, since then.
So you're paying it forward, which is kind of what I think we both do, is we're paying it forward for other people in our lives.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of the grandmother.
I know.
I see that from my relationship with my grandmother, and now watching my daughter's relationship with my mother. And Eliza tells me on the regular, I love Granny more than everybody, even more than you. Just a little bit more, but more.
Yeah, a lasting impact.
Yeah, no doubt. So when you two started working together, did you formalize that this was going to be a mentoring relationship in addition to kind of a supervisory relationship, or just talk to me a little bit about, kind of how you structured the relationship and how it's grown over the years?
I'm not sure who was the mentor though. See, I haven't figured that part out yet. And who was the supervisor? I think we knew we had certain roles, like whoever was over certain departments and whose license was in which part of the building. But other than that, we probably got on each other's nerves a little bit. Probably me on Kimberly's more than Kimberly on mine, but we kind of figured it out. Don't you think, Kim? We day to day.
I think so. I think we kind of made it up as we went along. We muddled through it together, like she said in the beginning. But we always had a mutual respect for one another, so it made the relationship easy. But anyone that knows Judy knows that she is a mentor, and she has been mentoring for years. And that is, one of the things that she does and that she's good at. And I think naturally it turned into a mentorship. When I first started, whether she knew it or not, I really looked up, to Judy, and she taught me a lot from, when I first started. And I've grown so much those, for almost 4 years that I was with her under her leadership, just to not be the typical leader. And it is okay to be dynamic and just be different and always help people along the way. Through, giving back in any way that we can, whether it's for the residents and, or the students that come into the community. We kind of tag team that process. And just by doing that and seeing how she worked through those processes, or how she had a sense of calmness about her to kind of, calm me down just from, decision making and, analyzing and different things like that. I think it kind of naturally happened.
That's funny, because I think you calmed me down in, some instances.
Well, we calmed each other down.
Yeah.
That's definitely safe to say.
So Judy, when Kimberly came to you and said that she was moving on to a new opportunity, how did that hit you?
I cried. It was terrible. Because in the interview she said in about 10 years she wanted to have her own community. And, this was only a couple years into that. I kind of went through the stages of grief, like, can he move here? I tried to bargain, like, can't we do this? Can't we? So did Kim. Well, I can't, no, I was devastated. Yeah, no, it was hard. It really was sad. It was like one of my kids going and moving away.
Yeah. not to
she was
mention
there.
the gap that she must have left at Lake
Oh,
Prince.
yeah. Still, yeah, still.
So
It was, yeah.
yeah, go ahead, Kimberly. Talk about, you had a major life change and had to make a move. So
I did, and it was rough to say the least. It was a rough last day. I remember when I was leaving, I was like, okay, well, I'm leaving. These are my keys and these are everything. And she said, well, I'm gonna drive you to your car. And so I parked at the back of the building. And so I jumped in her car and she drove me to the car. Then when we got out the car, we hugged each other just so tight because it was more than the relationship that it was as far as our professional relationship. We've really grown to know each other personally, and it was not an easy decision and definitely not an easy, transition, on my part. I don't think Judy was the only one that was in tears that day. It was awful. So,
well, I'm
but
sorry to dredge that back up.
Thank you, Melissa.
I know. Aren't I great to be as an interviewer? You know what? I mean, I've been able to witness the two of you together when you were both at Lake Prince Woods, and I can attest, Judy, to your recognition of Kimberly's just infectious spirit and presence, and having served as CEO under you as my board chair, Judy, I can attest to your calming presence. It's really cool to hear you both speak of each other and just, kind of affirm from my position, feeling the exact same way. But let me ask, what's been the most valuable thing you've learned from one another in the course of your relationship?
Trust. I think, what is it, Kim? I say, if you didn't see it, it didn't happen. But
did you see it?
but actually, I'm going to say, we got to a point which was wonderful for me. I actually stayed home in a whole snow event one time. That was the only time I've done that. It was great. Not to have to be here and know that it was fine. I went on vacations. Nobody called. It was wonderful. But it took me a while because I'm just like, with all the regs and everything else and surveyors, you worry all the time about any little thing. So, but that, and that was my biggest thing. Kim taught me how to really trust in that relationship.
I know. Judy taught me definitely to be thorough and to go above and beyond. I always wanted to make sure, and just like those instances that she didn't come back and, felt, like we weren't able to handle the community. So I used to try to go above and beyond to make sure that those times that she was away was beneficial for her and wasn't a stressful experience. And then she actually said what I was going to say. Did you see it? That is what I learned from Judy, because anytime something happened in the community or I reported something to her, she always said, did you see it? And I had to learn that I had to go look at it to make sure that I saw what was going on. So definitely being thorough in my practice and being able to run the community. And I think that's a big deal, a big concept that she taught me.
Yeah. And I think, Judy, knowing how hands-on you are, you are the consummate administrator at heart. For you to say that you were able to go on vacation and unplug and trust that, just knowing you, that is huge. And to see that working both ways, then Kimberly, that you have the confidence, to be able to do that and not worry that Judy was going to come back and, who knows what. But I think that's so cool. And it takes a while to get there. Judy, what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
All of the opportunities in the aging services field. There's so many opportunities. And I wish that I had known that I really should have gone back and become an RN during this process. That's what I really wish I had done, but I had known enough to do that. But all of the different opportunities, that's was my big surprise. And in this field.
Yeah.
People don't,
Yeah.
like with the program to go out and talk to the schools about all of the different roles that are in long-term care and in senior industry that people just don't even realize are there. So
Yeah. What about you, Kimberly?
I would say how much of an impact I have on the residents and the people that I mentor throughout this process. Had I known when I first started, you would have never been able to tell me, how much I'll be able to give back to the industry, doing things that I love to do for other people. I would say that is something that I wish. That I wish I would have known, because I probably would have moved faster to, to do certain things as far as my career.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is one common myth about aging services that you want to debunk?
That all leaders sit behind a desk.
Oh,
That.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Say more. Say more about that.
Uh-huh. So all leaders do not sit behind a desk. All leaders do not, have the suit and tie and, coffee and just walk around the building. We are hands-on workers and leaders, and we try to be. And that is something that, like you mentioned before, that I did, learn or continue to learn from Judy, just to see a different side of leadership, and that my thought of what leadership was really not what I felt like it should be. And it kind of proved that to be true during the years that I worked with her.
yeah, I agree. I went through 3 pairs of Nikes during COVID,
Yep.
and probably a year, 3 pairs of Nikes, because you have to go out there and help the staff, all the team members, the residents. They have to know you. They have to know your face. The families, they have to know who you are, and you can only do that by not being at your desk. And I've also learned that aging is not something to fear. A lot of people fear it, but you can embrace it. It's they just don't even understand what really happens, and all of the things that people still continue to do as they age and birthdays.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you both get an inside glimpse into kind of the beauty of some of the transitions that people go through in their older years, and that to be gifted to be a part of that, rather than to feel afraid of, I think sometimes people are afraid of their own mortality, and that's one of the reasons they don't want to work with older adults, whether it's conscious or subconscious. But what would you say has surprised you the most about working in this field?
How much I love it, the relationships that I've built over the years, especially with the residents. I learned to do a lot of things from the residents. I learned how to crochet. I learned how to knit. I just learned just a new level of compassion. Everyone can say, I'm compassionate about the field, but when you get to know and build relationships with your residents, it's a different level, of compassion that you find out about yourself. I learned a lot about myself since I've started in aging services.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Kimberly. I've learned a lot about myself through this process over the years, and just learning from the residents. It's been, and just figuring out things to help them. It's great to have like those aha moments, like, oh, maybe if we just try this with this person, or look at this, and just having things work and come out well. I probably didn't even answer your question, but it just, all the opportunities that you have to help people, not just your residents, but there's just so many things you can do for the community, for students, everything. I don't know. It's just all the opportunities I've had to do things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that just surprises me is that we're still kind of a light under a bushel. So many people just don't even know that we exist, whether from a consumer perspective or a future employee team member perspective. It's like they drive by that community all the time, but they've never thought to learn more about what the community is, or who they serve. And I think about how many people get into this field by accident. I mean, Kimberly, if your grandmother had said, there goes my electrician, or there goes my architect or whatever, would you have taken a different path? And Judy, if your mom had said, hey, there's a job over at the university, would you have taken a different path? Right. Like, I just wonder, how many more people we would have in the field if there was more intentionality as using this as a career choice, as you both have talked about. So what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours?
Give it your all.
And keep
Stick to
learning.
it. Yeah.
Learn the whole time. Don't stop. Don't stop learning. Sometimes, my youngest son is pursuing, health services in some form. Don't know what that will be yet, but when he got his bachelor's, I was, get your master's right now, go get it and keep going so that you're better prepared. You're more well-rounded with learning other things. Don't just learn the health services, go and get the business master's, learn other things, because there's so many different aspects to the job. And our AITs that come through, I would tell them, and I do tell them, they would think they're going to go out and become a CEO of a huge continuing care retirement community or nursing home chain or assisted living, but they need to really start entry and learn the place, learn the job, and really get to know what it's all about in the day-to-day.
So, let me ask you, this is totally off the wall question. Do you think that all leadership should have to go through CNA training?
I think that for myself, based on my experience and my background starting as a CNA, I think that it gave me a different perspective and a different level of respect for the field, just because I know, all the different sides of the industry, as it relates to serving the residents. I think it's beneficial. I'm not sure if I would say it is something that I think, breeds the best leaders, but I do think it's something that is beneficial, to the field. And that was just my start. So you can have a start in dietary and have the same, experience that I did. I just started in a different part of the industry. I think that being able to kind of grow in a different area can help build, a good character and a great leader. I always think it gives you like a foundation for the industry. And I don't think it necessarily has to be CNA training. I think it can be any training that kind of gets you started into the field.
Yeah, I just wonder about the lack of value systemically placed on frontline workforce. I don't think that necessarily is something that our membership, I mean, I used to be in member communities all the time, and I could see the value placed on our frontline workforce. But in general, it's the hardest job and the lowest paid job. And I wonder if more people got an opportunity to walk in those shoes, if perception would change a little bit. Judy, you were going to say something.
Well, when I was in California, the company I worked for, everybody that came to work, you would work as a CNA, you would work the floor as a caregiver. Didn't matter if you were marketing, whatever position you were coming into, you did a week or two on the floor learning, so that you had a better appreciation for what was going on. And I do think that when we have LPNs and RNs who have come up and they've started as CNAs and then RMAs and LPNs and RNs, I do really see a difference in how they approach things with other team members, because they know it. Yeah. And it really would help our staffing issues if we all had that certification right now.
Right. I know. I've heard lots of stories of leadership teams serving in the dining room and being trained on feeding and different requirements because of the staffing crisis. So what motivates each of you? How do you keep doing this work, especially coming through, this incredible past 2 years?
Well, we're making history right now. So that's what I told the team, and I told the residents, because it's been a tough 2 years. We're making history, so we might be in someone's history books. I guess what motivates me is knowing that what I do benefits others. And now my mindset is, I want people to see me. I want people to see what I'm doing. I want to inspire people, others, to be in the field just like me, so that we can continue, with the same values, that I was taught, and give back to the community the best way that we can. So it's about the benefit that we have, that others see in us. So.
And making a difference, like Kim said, you're making a difference. When I go home, I'm not going to say every day I go home feeling that way, but when I can feel like I really made a difference in someone's life, whether it be a resident, a family member, a team member, somebody's that you've helped, that you've been able to, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge, but it's fun. Is that maybe it's to have the challenges and solve problems, work with a group to try to come up with the best solutions on how to do different things. And, it just, I like the challenge that it brings every day. Maybe not when surveyors are here, but other days, I like the challenges that it brings.
Yeah, and I think that as somebody who works in a role that, impact is one of my driver, but I don't get to see the impact we make or we don't make every day. I get to see it sometimes. We had a legislative victory last week that affected all of our retirement communities, and woohoo, right? But I think it's an important thing for people who are trying to figure out if this field is the right for them, to really understand if impact and being able to see the difference in the day-to-day is important to you. This is a field for you, right? This is, and I feel it because I hope that we help you all do your jobs better or feel supported, not on an island. And so therefore you seeing a difference you make every day makes me feel like we're doing something right. But I do think that if impact is a driver, people really need to look at, aging services as a career choice, because as you both said, there's so many different ways to be involved, and there's so many different ways to see, to feel that difference that you make, whether it's in dining or housekeeping or IT, or maybe not accounting. No, sure, accounting.
Yeah, numbers.
Right. So just switching gears for the last few minutes of our time together, as women leaders in this field, and Kimberly, as a woman of color, I'm curious about your lived experiences. Have you come into any challenges as being a woman in the field, as being a woman of color in the field? Have there been obstacles because of the shoes you walk in? And if so, how did you overcome those obstacles, and what advice or wisdom can you dispel for other young women who are entering this field?
I think that I've gone through many challenges, being a woman of color and being a younger leader. I think that people look at me and have a perspective of the service that I'm going to provide. And so, I make sure that, they recognize me as a person. They know that I'm just as qualified as anyone else to do the job or take care of their loved one or whatever it is that I'm doing at that time. And, I make sure that, they are comfortable and I'm comfortable, and I take any opportunity to educate that I can, about, my position, my role, and how, I can provide a service or continue to provide a service, at that time. I think that my advice would be never get discouraged and never let anyone dim your light, because I think that sometimes, we can be discouraged based on what has happened during the day, or what someone may have told you. It's been many times that someone has said something to me and it affected me all day. So make sure that you're not dimming your own light, and you know, continue to shine bright and provide the services that you are, you know, equipped to provide. You know, you're just as good as anyone else, and you should continue to move forward, you know, and walk in power, you know, at all times when, you know, when it comes to the things that you're doing.
Yeah. How about you, Judy?
Well, I will say, when I first moved to Virginia, I'm just going to share this, and I went on an interview, and the questions they asked me were, you couldn't get away with this today, but what religion are you? Are you going to have more kids?
Wow.
Oh, are you going to move in a few years? Will you get a new duty station? And it was like, oh, I, was very polite. And I actually got the job because at that time, the person there said, we had to hire you. Just kidding. But the questions were, and I don't think that would have been asked of a man if you're going to have more children, if you're going to,
Right.
but I do know in Virginia, like this area, people might not appreciate like how much it has grown for women. Years ago, you had in the CCRC community, you had all the men as the presidents, and then you had, your groundbreaker Earl Marie come in, and the first female CCRC person in Virginia, and then Kathy Anderson came in. So the field has really come a long way for women as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that too. And I think circling back, Kimberly, to your previous comment, you would never expect ageism in our field, right? But you recognize that as a young leader, sometimes people they're dismissive, right? I mean, that's just of youth. And we see that, on the resident side, we see ageism happen in some communities as well. But you reminded me of being in a Leading Age National Annual Conference years ago when Maya Angelou was at the podium, and she's just kept singing over and over, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine," as a reminder to all of us of the importance of the work that we do. So let me ask, any last thoughts that you want to share with our listeners around your experience, your perspective on the future, just anything at all that comes to mind?
Well, I do think Leading Age is a great advocate and organization, and I don't know that people really appreciate all of the value you all bring, and how over the years you have protected the industry from some things that really could have been hardships on all of us. And the work that you all put into all of that is just amazing. I just see the aging, it's changing. I see there's going to be a lot of change coming. Your typical nursing homes are not that anymore. You see people downsizing, and it just, I think home health is coming into more of a play as we go into the future with places. It's a really good time for people to be in the industry. I think it's really a good time because there is a lot of change coming, and you need some people that are energetic and motivated and can, unlike me, the IT part of it, but people that can do that and really come up with things to help make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Kimberly?
I would tell people to continue to explore the industry. Like Judy said earlier, learn as much as you can, because there is something for everyone. I always say every time I get a student, I do, I mentor students because I want to continue to put people out in the field that are like me. And so I'm having that same mindset, because we are training the future of healthcare, and be willing to train, be willing to teach, be willing to grow your own industry. You work hard in the industry, so you want to carry on your legacy, whether people know it's your legacy or not. You're making a difference for someone. So that's what I would say. Continue to grow and develop in the field as much as you can, regardless whether you're new in the field or you've been in the field for a while. Continue to grow and develop and give back to the community.
That reminds me, I forgot to ask you, Kimberly, about your experience in the Leadership Academy. Is there anything that you could share about being a part of that?
It was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And so I'm a 2018 alum of the National Leadership Academy, and now currently I'm serving as a coach for the academy, and it's an exciting experience. I'm lucky because I feel like I get to go through it twice, so I can't wait to continue to explore that and just see what the differences are. And I encourage everyone to give the opportunity or allow the opportunity for your team to be able to experience different leadership development programs, because it really is beneficial, to your team, and it shows value, in the commitment to, to serve in the industry, and then the value of your team members to participate in those programs. And I think that it helps have longevity in the workplace, and longevity within your organization, if you continue to train and develop your team members. So.
Well, I want to thank you both for participating in our podcast today. I have learned so much from you, and especially just the theme of paying it forward, that you both continue to do. That is such a gift to the field. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
So, Paula, it's fun to interview people who worked really closely together, and now, they're not working as closely, but gosh, what just love you see between the two of them, and respect. What did you think of that conversation?
I did, because when Kimberly left Lake Prince Woods, I thought, oh no, there's some bad relationship. Oh no, it's not. They've maintained that friendship. They maintain the just understanding one another and sharing with one another and continuing to mentor one another. And I thought that was fabulous, this whole relationship they had.
Yeah, I love when Judy said, I don't know who was mentoring who, because they're so different, and yet they do have things in common. And I just thought that was, and just their love of mentoring and coaching and bringing people up is so important in our work. How else are we going to find the next generation of people to do this work, right?
It's true. I mean, both of them just shared how much it is they love to mentor, yes, but also to get people into the industry as well to begin with, and say, research it, look at it, start at the bottom, learn and get that foundation, and see how much you can grow.
Yeah. And just listening to the different challenges, Judy talking about what it was like to be a young woman entering this field a long time ago, and not so long ago, and the questions that we wouldn't ask now. But then Kimberly's perspective on being a young woman coming into this field, and, having people maybe not take her seriously. So challenges with age, with gender, with race, ethnicity, they still exist, and we have so much work to do to eradicate those.
It is. And I'm glad this was such a positive interview, that, I'm going away grateful for them for what they continue to do, and, to lift everyone up, and to continue to push the aging services out there and say, hey, anybody can do this. You need to be involved. Yeah,
they are the epitome of servant leaders. And I know how that resonates with you, being a servant leader yourself.
Really.
So this really was another one for the books, another delightful interview for the book. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you.